Adopt a vibrant and clear delivery that brings the story's imagery to life. The pace should be measured and rhythmic, allowing dramatic moments to land with force and quiet moments to feel intimate. Infuse key phrases with purposeful energy and a hint of steel, reflecting the defiance of the characters. Speak with an authoritative yet personal tone, as if you are a witness to these events, sharing a truth that must be remembered. Under a sycamore tree that has pushed its way through the roof of a ruined church, a young shepherd closes his eyes and listens to the quiet. In that quiet, there is a tremor, a boundary between what feels safe and what calls him forward. Before you walk past this moment, ask yourself a knife-edge question. When the life you know is comfortable but small, which truth would you hold when everything else is taken? Tonight, you and I will sit with that question. I'll walk with you through fear and wonder, and we will leave with one simple action that can change the way you move through the world. Keep the picture of that sycamore in your mind. We'll return to it before we say goodbye. Paulo Coelho wrote a slim fable that many people first encounter in moments of restlessness. He is a Brazilian storyteller who took an ancient shape, a quest, a treasure, a journey across sand and wind, and used it to talk about what human beings quietly crave, a sense that our lives are not accidents. The book feels like a parable, but it is not a moral lecture. It's a mirror. It reflects a boy's journey outward toward a treasure and inward toward himself. And it reflects something vital in you, the part of you that wants to honor the promise you made to yourself when you were younger and still unafraid to name what you loved. If you stay with me, I won't just tell you what happens in a story. I will talk to you about the patterns underneath it, how to sense your personal legend, the deep orientation that draws your attention again and again, how to read the subtle signs that the world constantly places in your path, and how to keep moving when fear tries to convince you to fold. You will hear about craft, patience, and the strange luck that greets those who begin. But most importantly, you'll finish with a small, concrete step you can take today, not tomorrow, to honor your calling. Along the way, I'll offer you questions to sit with, because the right question held honestly can do more for your life than any advice shouted from a mountaintop. Let's start with the most tender idea in the story, your personal legend. It's a phrase that sounds grand, but at heart, it is simple. It is the direction your life leans when you are not performing for anyone. It is the activity that makes you lose track of time, the skill you polish even when nobody claps, the conversation topic that wakes your eyes. For the boy in the fable, shepherding is not the end. It's the beginning, an apprenticeship in attention, in wandering, in listening. For you, your personal legend might be teaching or building tools or cooking for neighbors or writing code that helps strangers or designing clothing that makes people feel seen. It does not have to be spectacular. It has to be true. Why does it matter that you name it? Because unnamed desires turn into irritations. When you don't claim your direction, you drift into other people's currents. You become excellent at tasks that are invisible to your soul. And then one day you wake up, busy and brittle, wondering why the evenings feel empty even though you did everything right. Naming your direction does not fix everything, but it changes the questions you ask yourself. You stop asking, what will keep me safe, and start asking, what will keep me alive? There are barriers to claiming it. Maybe you have a soundtrack in your head that says dreams are for the lucky. Maybe you have mouths to feed and debts to pay. Maybe you tried once, met resistance, and told yourself a story that you were foolish. Notice how the fear hides in noble clothes. It says it is protecting you from embarrassment, from risk, from other people's opinions. But its real aim is to protect you from change, because change means loss as well as gain. So let's talk about how to honor your direction without burning down your current life. Here's one way. Give yourself 30 minutes of quiet this week. Find a corner of your room, a cafe, the seat of a bus at the end of the line. Take a pen. On a blank page right at the top, when I let myself want what I truly want, I want. Then write without stopping for 10 minutes. Do not edit. Do not perform. Do not imagine what others will say. Speak with your hand. When you finish, circle 3 lines that sting a little because they're honest. Next, choose one tiny step connected to one of those lines that can be done in less than an hour. If you wrote, "I want to paint," your step is not, "quit my job and move to a studio." Your step is buy 3 brushes and paint for 30 minutes on Saturday morning. Make it small enough to be immune to your excuses. By the end of this video, I will ask you to say your one step out loud in the comments. Not for me, for you, because naming is binding. When you begin, something strange often happens. There is a lift, a breeze at your back. The boy experiences a run of good fortune after he commits to the journey, and people often call it beginner's luck. That phrase can sound superstitious, but there is a practical truth underneath it. When you start, your attention sharpens. You notice openings you would have missed because your mind is on the lookout. Your energy is directed. People respond to energy. Doors that were always there become visible because you are finally looking for them. It's not magic. It's alignment. But beginner's luck does not last. The arc of every meaningful path contains obstacles that will ask you, "Are you serious?" Many people interpret the first obstacle as a sign to stop. They think if this was meant to be, it would be easier. That's a misunderstanding. The first obstacle is often the tuition you pay for joining a craft. You are being asked to convert enthusiasm into discipline. How do you do that? Break your beginning into a 2-week commitment. For the next 14 days, give your new direction a daily container of time. 15 minutes if that's all you can find, 60 if you can. Put it in your calendar with the same respect you give to a meeting that pays you money. In those minutes, focus on one act of practice. If your direction is writing, write 2 paragraphs without looking at your phone. If it's fitness, learn one compound movement and practice the form. If it's starting a micro business, talk to one potential customer and ask one honest question. The point is not progress that dazzles. The point is proof to yourself. I show up for what I say I care about. Now, let's talk about omens, the small signs and patterns the boy learns to read. In everyday life, the word omen might sound mystical, but think of it this way. Your environment is constantly serving you feedback. The people you meet, the invitations that repeat, the topics that keep landing in your lap, the moments when your body feels alive or heavy, these are signals. When you pay attention, you learn which signals precede good decisions and which precede regret. Make a simple practice. For 1 week, carry a small notebook or use the Notes app on your phone. At the top of a page, write signals. Each day, capture 3 things: 1 moment of energy, 1 coincidence that nudged your path, and 1 friction that drained you. At the end of the week, read your notes. You'll likely see patterns. Maybe every time you teach a friend something, you feel electric. Maybe every time you scroll late at night, you wake dull and impatient. Use these patterns as your omens. You are not outsourcing your life to superstition. You are tuning your instrument. Of course, not every signal is a green light. Some signals ask you to pause. In the story, a small theft early in the journey reminds the boy that naivety has a price. In your life, a painful surprise might be asking you to build a boundary or acquire a missing skill. The wise response is not to retreat into cynicism, but to fortify yourself with competence. If your path involves money, learn basic bookkeeping. If your path involves people, learn how to set a clear agreement and follow up. If your path involves art, learn the gritty habits that produce work. The world rewards those who combine wonder with structure. There is a part of the story that feels like a case study in design. The boy works in a crystal shop that is struggling. He suggests changes that make people notice the shop again. This is not glossy inspiration. It is simple iteration. Clean the glass, move the product where it catches the light, add something delightful that hints at what the customer wants but didn't ask for. In your life, there are crystal shops everywhere, places you already touch or a small redesign could change your trajectory. Maybe it's your room, your website, your resume, your morning routine. Instead of dreaming of a new life, polish the one you have. Make a list of 3 small optimizations you could do this week that would make your environment invite the behavior you want. Put your guitar on a stand, not in the case. Place your running shoes by the door. Put a glass of water next to the coffee maker. People underestimate how much the environment shapes their choices. Be kind to your future self by making the default path the right path. Another theme in the book is the language that doesn't need words. The boy learns to read the wind, the animals, the heartbeats of strangers. He learns to trust a kind of quiet coherence, the sense that everything is connected and that he is not separate from the world. In your practical life, this looks like attunement. It is the moment you pay attention to your body's yes and no. It is the moment you stop trying to force life to match your plan and begin to collaborate with what is here. Try a 1-minute check-in twice a day. Close your eyes, ask your body, do I feel tight or open right now? If tight, what is needed? Movement, water, a boundary, a break? If open, what is invited? Focus, generosity, a risk? This practice looks simple. It is not. It trains you to stop outsourcing your choices to noise. Over time, you'll notice that when you ignore these signals, you pay. When you honor them, you find the current again. Let's sit with fear for a moment. One of the most revealing lines in the story is not spoken, it is lived. Most of the suffering comes from the fear of suffering. In other words, our imagination makes monsters bigger than they are. We rehearse failure until the rehearsal becomes the performance. We catastrophize the ask, the audition, the first client call, the conversation with the partner, and then we avoid it, which guarantees the result we feared. So here's a tool, the 2-minute courage window. When you face a meaningful but frightening task, set a 2-minute timer and act before the timer ends. Make the call, send the email, walk into the room. 2 minutes is short enough that fear cannot fully spin its web. If you need to prep before the timer. But when the timer starts, act. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the choreography you use to move with it. What about love? The book refuses the cliche that love means stopping your life to sit in a beautiful stasis. Real love, the story suggests, is the kind that supports your becoming. It does not hold you back and call the cage care. It listens to your personal legend and says, go, I am here when you return. In your life, that might mean having a conversation that is both tender and firm. It might mean telling someone you love exactly what you are doing and why it matters to you. It might mean hearing their fear without making it your compass. Ask yourself, does the way I love and the way I am loved expand or shrink my soul? If the answer is complicated, good. Most honest answers are. You don't fix this in one conversation. You build a practice of telling the truth and listening for the other person's truth. You look for ways to support each other's direction in concrete ways. Trade time, share resources, celebrate tiny wins, remind each other why you began. If love becomes a reason to abandon your calling, resentment will grow in the dark. If love becomes a shelter that helps you walk through storms, devotion grows roots. Transformation is one of the book's richest metaphors. Alchemy in the old stories is the art of turning base metal into gold. Here, it becomes the art of turning fear into presence, distraction into attention, and repeated mistakes into wisdom. Think of your life as a small laboratory. You are both the material and the alchemist. What is your lead right now? Maybe it's a habit of delay that you dress up as perfectionism. Maybe it's the way you scroll to avoid feeling small. Maybe it's the way you say yes to everything because no feels dangerous. Choose one base habit and give it heat. Heat is sustained attention. For the next 4 weeks, replace that habit with a crafted alternative. If your lead is doom scrolling at night, put your phone in another room at 10 p.m. and stack a reward with the new behavior. A book you actually like, a cup of tea, a 10-minute stretch. If your lead is saying yes to every request, script a graceful no that you can use without panic. Thank you for asking. I'm at capacity this month, but I can revisit next month. Then practice that sentence aloud until it lives in your mouth. The first week, you will feel the pull of the old metal. The second week, you will feel the first glint of gold. By week 4, your nervous system will believe you. But even as you change, you will meet deserts. They look like stretches where progress feels invisible, where your work is quiet and your friends don't see the point. The boy walks through sand and heat with the caravan because the only way is through. In your life, deserts are the weeks when you practice skills instead of performing, when your business sees no new clients, when your art feels clumsy, when your workouts don't show on the mirror yet. The temptation here is to invent drama to feel alive again. The wiser move is to adopt the caravan mindset. Ration your effort, commit to the route, share your water, and keep moving. Design your desert routine. Choose a sustainable weekly tempo. 3 focused sessions on your craft, 1 session of deliberate rest, 1 session of review. The review is crucial. On Friday, write down 3 things you did that you would not have done last week. That is your caravan journal. It converts invisibility into evidence. Another recurring thread is the interplay between free will and fate. In the story, people say a word that means, "It is written." Some hear that and decide to sit down. But that's not how the boy lives. He moves, he chooses, he listens, he risks, and the world answers. This is a dance, not a script. In your life, this means you act without demanding guarantees. You set a direction, you make a plan, you take steps, and then you watch what reality says in response. If it says not yet, you practice. If it says this way, you adapt. If it says wrong mountain, you have the humility to change course. There is a line of trust that runs through this. Trust that your sincere effort will not be wasted. It will teach you what is yours and what is not. Let's talk about money, because dreams dressed in denial tend to fail loudly. In the story, the boy loses money early, and it hurts. In your life, money is not the enemy of purpose. Carelessness is. Build a small base. Keep your fixed costs lower than your pride wants them to be. Learn to track your inflows and outflows weekly. If you want to shift careers, create a bridge. Freelance on the side, reduce hours, build a 6-month cushion. Simplify your lifestyle. There is honor in being practical, and there is danger in pretending that romance will pay your rent. Respecting money does not make you less soulful. It makes you free enough to say yes to the right opportunities and no to the ones that would twist your work. Sometimes the sign that you are on the right track is not applause, but friction. If you are creating something that matters to you, someone will misunderstand it. Someone will joke because jokes are easier than awe. Someone will offer advice that would sand down the edges that make your work yours. Learn the difference between feedback that refines your craft and feedback that dilutes your soul. A simple test. Does this suggestion make the work more honest and more useful to the people I serve? Or does it make the work more palatable to people who are not my audience? Adjust accordingly. There's a beautiful paradox in the book. The treasure that pulls you across continents ends up closer to where you began than you expected. Some people take that as a punchline. I take it as a deep kindness. Often the journey is what gives you eyes to see what was always around you. At the start, you stand under the sycamore and see only shade. After the journey, you see shelter, memory, and the texture of bark you never noticed. In daily life, this means that while you move toward a vision, you also harvest what is already yours. What skills, relationships, and resources are you discounting because they are familiar? Make an inventory tonight of 5 assets within arm's reach that could support your next step. Your old blog posts could become a short course. Your habit of helping friends could become a service. Your language skills could become a bridge for people in your city. Treasure is often hiding in plain sight because we are conditioned to believe that far equals valuable. The heart has a voice in this story. It speaks, it trembles, it warns, it urges. Our culture teaches 2 extremes. Either obey your heart blindly or ignore it in favor of spreadsheets. The wise path is to listen to your heart as data and then think with it, not against it. Develop a ritual of conversation with your heart. In the morning, ask, what am I pretending not to know today? What would I do if I trusted that I could learn what I needed to learn? Whom can I serve from a full place, not as a way to avoid my own work? At night, ask, where did I abandon myself today? Where did I honor myself? Tomorrow, how can I do 1% better? Service matters. The boy's gifts bless not just himself, but the people around him. When you move toward your personal legend, you do not become a selfish comet burning through other people's skies. You become a source. Your courage gives permission. Your focus reduces noise. Your generosity gains precision. The world does not need more scattered brilliance. It needs honest work that does what it says it will do. Let's pause and imagine you and I meeting in a quiet corner of your city. We sit with 2 cups, no hurry. You tell me that you feel behind, that everyone else seems to be sprinting and you are still tying your shoes. I would say this: nobody is ahead or behind in a life that is truly yours. There is only alignment or misalignment. If you are aligned for 10 minutes today, that is more progress than 10 hours of running toward a prize you don't want. That's not a spiritual trick. It is logistics. You cannot sustain what you do not love. And if you can't sustain it, it will break you or you will break it. So move gently but firmly toward what you love. Build your week around it. Make micro commitments that are too small to fail. Honor your body. Ask for help. Trade skills with friends. Read a page that strengthens you. Practice the art of beginning again, because the world belongs to people who learn to begin without shame. You might be wondering how to tell the difference between a true calling and a fleeting mood. Here is a simple filter. A true calling survives boredom. In fact, it requires it. When the initial sugar dissolves, are you still willing to sit with the thing? If yes, you are in the right room. If no, don't shame yourself. You just learned something without paying a large fee. Try another door. Life gives you many. There will be tests that feel like betrayal. A friend who doesn't understand. a plan that collapses, a season of scarcity. In these moments, remember the caravan. You do not have to run alone. Gather two people who share your values, even if their paths differ. Meet fortnightly for 1 hour. Each person names one promise, one obstacle, and one next step. Then, 2 weeks later, you report back. Accountability is not punishment. It is a way of honoring your future self with witnesses. There is also the matter of forgiveness. As you walk, you will trip, and sometimes you will trip in the same place twice. Shame wants to make that your story. But shame is a poor architect. It builds houses with no light. Forgive yourself quickly and thoroughly, not with excuses, but with responsibility. Say, I did that. I own it. I will repair what can be repaired. I will carry the lesson, not the weight. Then move. Let me share a personal style reflection. I often imagine guiding someone standing in front of a gate they think is locked. Their hand trembles because they have convinced themselves they need a key. But when they touch the gate, it swings. The lock was a story. When I see that, I think of you. What is the gate that looks real but is not? Is it the idea that you are too late? The belief that you must be the best before you begin? The fear that if you are honest about your desires, the people you love will leave? Here is your challenge, gentle and fierce. Choose one gate today. Touch it. Test it with a small action that respects your responsibilities but refuses your fear. If you are afraid to post your work, send it privately to one trusted person tonight. If you are afraid to ask for a meeting, draft a 3-sentence message and send it before you sleep. If your body needs care you keep postponing, book the appointment this afternoon. If your home needs order to free your mind, choose one drawer and restore it. These look like minor acts. They are not. They are prayers done with your hands. When storms come, and they will, remember that not all movement is forward. Sometimes wisdom asks you to be still, not passive, still. The boy learns to listen without running. You can learn it too. Stillness is a skill. 5 minutes of quiet breathing can reset a spiraling day. A single walk without your phone can return your vision. A pause before a reply can save a friendship. Do not confuse urgency with importance. Your life deserves deliberateness. As we approach the end, return with me to that sycamore. Think of the root that broke stone to find light. Think of the patience in that motion. You don't have to be loud to be unstoppable. You have to be consistent. Your dream is not a firework. It is a sunrise. It does not need your panic. It needs your attendance. So, keep the most important promise you can keep. Show up for yourself as faithfully as you show up for others. Here is your closing reflection before I give you one clear next step. Ask yourself softly, what would staying faithful to my personal legend look like this week in my actual calendar with my actual constraints? Not in a fantasy schedule, but in the one on your phone. Would it look like 3 sessions of practice at dawn? Would it look like a single brave conversation on Thursday? Would it look like setting up a small online storefront with one product instead of dreaming of 100? Would it look like saying no to one request that would steal your focus? Would it look like joining a class so that your learning has a rhythm? Choose. And when you choose, write it down. Not because writing is magic, but because it clarifies your promise. I want to leave you with this. There is a kind of luck that meets people who move. It is not guaranteed, it is not even fair, but it is real. It shows up as unexpected help, as right time invitations, as energy you didn't know was available. And it seems to prefer people who align their days with their direction. If you want to meet that luck, go where it tends to gather, at the edges of your comfort, in rooms where you are a beginner, in conversations where you admit you don't know, but you're willing to learn. You are not late. You are right on time for the life you can still make. Start with one step today. Honor the omen that has already arrived in your life, the one you keep noticing. Trust that you can learn skills you don't have yet. Treat discipline as love, not punishment. Treat rest as fuel, not laziness. Treat people with kindness without letting them drive your bus. And when fear shows you a movie of your failure, stand up in the middle of the theater and walk out. Outside the doors, the air will taste like beginning. We have walked a long path in this conversation. We talked about naming your direction, using small steps, reading signals with humility, transforming base habits in a patient furnace, crossing deserts with the caravan's discipline, loving in a way that grows you, and discovering treasure near your starting point after your eyes have been changed by the journey. None of this requires a perfect life. All of it requires a willing one. Make yours willing. The world is not waiting to grant you permission. It is waiting to witness your contribution. And now the promise from the opening becomes your action. Under the sycamore, you ask yourself what you would hold when comfort and calling pulled in opposite directions. Hold your truth, not the loud one designed to impress, the quiet one that keeps returning when you stop performing. Build a week around it. Let your days become proof of your love for the life you are making. You will not regret that devotion. Before we close, here is your single clear call to courage and clarity. Choose one concrete step linked to your personal legend that you can complete today in less than an hour. Decide it now. Then speak it aloud in one sentence, as if you were promising a friend. Write it where you will see it. And when you complete it, mark the moment, not with fanfare, but with gratitude. Small acts of courage compound into lives that feel like home. Call to action. In the comments, answer this in one sentence so you anchor it for yourself. What is the smallest omen you will act on today, and what exact step will you take within the next 12 hours? Post it and then share this video with one person who needs to remember their own direction. Save it if the sycamore image spoke to you, because we will return to it together on quiet nights when you need strength. Join us as we build a community that treats courage like a daily craft. Tonight belongs to those who begin.